Hello, my name is Chris and today I'm going to review the 2019 Ford Edge ST. For regular viewers, nice to see you again, and for first-time viewers, hello and welcome to my Canadian car review channel. I reviewed the Ford Edge a few years ago and it has been refreshed this year. Let's see if the changes are enough to stay competitive. The consumer, which usually leases, requires a new product at the end of the lease cycle. This leaves the customer expecting a lot on a shorter time frame. On the outside, Edge leads with aggressive styling and intense 21-inch optional wheels. This shape is both functional and attractive and has a lovely paint color, which goes well with the blacked out trim. The appearance of this Ford is high level. There is a lot of room in the trunk. In terms of space, it seems to slot in between compact crossover and mid-size crossover. Sitting behind myself, it is the Royal crossover experience. Lots of room and beautiful panoramic roof. Brilliant. In front, you have a lot of room, a good-looking interior, uncomfortable seats, and an unsatisfactory center stack and dash. This dash looks low-level from 3 or 4 years ago, and the climate controls are thankfully manually adjustable, but the layout and button quality are not up to the level of this Edge's near $50,000 Canadian price tag. The refresh should have addressed this. These seats are heavily bolstered. I'm not sure crossover drivers want this. Thankfully, these are the only flaws I could find. The rest of this interior is okay, with a simple to use infotainment and an average assembly quality. The suspension is Ford awesome despite 21-inch mags. If you want something less sporty and also a good value and do not care about leather seats, sunroof, or four-wheel drive, the SEL trim with the $850 co-pilot option seems to be a good choice for less than $40,000 Canadian. The Ford Edge ST comes with a B&O sound system, very high-end. This Edge ST has an excellent 2.7-liter V6 turbo and makes 335 horsepower and 380 pounds of torque, with fuel economy at 12.6 in the city and 9.2 on the highway, or 1926 mpg. The 8-speed automatic transmission is responsive. Here are my thoughts on the road. Hello car lovers, driving the 2019 Ford Edge ST. Pretty nice pickup from Ross. What about this vehicle? Well, I'm going to start on the outside. I really like the styling of this vehicle. It is really sporty. I think it's probably the best looking styling out there for the money. That's my opinion. I just say the 21-inch wheels are perhaps a little bit intense. All right, I'm not sure I would want to change those tires. But the exterior styling, probably best in class in terms of the sporty look. What about the inside? Well, the inside is where things are a little bit rougher. I have a few gripes. I find this dash unit is pretty old-fashioned. I think it comes from out of 5 years ago. I'm feeling $30,000–$35,000 when I look at the dash. Also here, this center console here with the buttons, I'm feeling maybe $30,000–$35,000, and I'm in a $50,000 vehicle. That's pretty bad for that kind of interface. The seats, I would say, I'm going to complain about the seats. I find there's a little bit of over bolstering for the legs. I'm not sure the typical customer who buys this vehicle wants to feel the wrapped around seats. That's my opinion. But that's about it. Those are my only gripes on the inside. The infotainment, extremely easy to use, if not pretty to look at. I prefer easy to use than pretty and complicated to use. What about these material qualities here? Pretty good, I'd say, in terms of just like the nice blacks, the chromes, the satin finishes, the white stitching. It all looks very good. In fact, we have an expression in French. I don't know how to say it in English. It's something that looks good on the surface. However, when you sit in it and you live with it, you realize that the quality is perhaps a little bit less. There is a lot of room here. In terms of size, it seems to position itself between the compact crossover and the intermediate size crossover. So somewhere between CR-V and Honda Pilot, if you want a comparison. And it doesn't have a third row, but it has a lot of room in the trunk. It has a lot of room for the rear passengers. It will be impossible for a passenger to complain if you stick him back there for a long trip. It just really is good. Especially with that panoramic roof, it's huge in this Ford. The drive quality is, well, Ford quality, which is to say very, very high level. Not too molasses, but sporty. They really do that well. As far as the engine goes and the fuel economy, really good power, really feels high end. The transmission doesn't draw attention to itself, and Ross did his regular routine, which is mostly highway driving. He got like 10.7 liters per 100 kilometers over his week. He got 0.4 or 0.3 kilometers better with the Cadillac XT4, which is a much more smaller vehicle with a much more smaller engine. So that goes to show you on the highway, it really does reasonable mileage. And I think that's pretty awesome. And those are my thoughts about the vehicle. I think this is a great vehicle for somebody who perhaps has a Mustang and wants to go to the SUV experience, but doesn't want to go too family-oriented looking, doesn't want to look too boring or conservative. This has a nice exterior style, and it looks classy at the same time, I think. So those are my thoughts on this vehicle. Overall, I think it's recommendable on the lease. Perhaps the long-term reliability, not so sure for the purchase. However, Ford parts are generally perhaps less expensive, or I should rather say more available in jobber parts. So I think the purchase is okay too. Ross recommends more the lease. I think so too. I think the lease is pretty much where it is today. These things, you drive it 3-4 years, then you take the keys, you give it back to the dealer, and you get a new one. So that is it. By the way, if you like this video, like this video. If you don't like it, don't like it. And if you really like it, you can subscribe. Duh. And that is the review.